going to be on your map, Haven.
And this is the map that Bloom picked. Like, this is actually TSM's best map by a long shot. A lot of teams trying to avoid playing TSM on Haven because they are just so good at it. Bloom picked this. This is probably a very big ball play just to take a team like this to their best map. And if Bloom win on Haven, well, that changes everything. TSM are going to be defending first. Rosa playing on the Phoenix. I said Drone because Drone is so used to playing it. Wardell's on the Jet, starts off with a 2K, and TSM already starting off pretty hot, but this is a long way to go before we see who wins out this one.
Playing so aggressive as well. I think they're just trying to create some disjointed pushes from that offensive side, not give them any chance to really set up into the round. And that was basically what I was going to mention just as we were going into the match, is the fact that it's not even whether or not Bloom perform. I don't think that's so much of a question. Like, sure, the pressure's on, but they've got some experienced players. The things that worries me is if TSM even gives them the respect to try and perform. Like, just get in their face, just shut them down early, use the individual skill of both Wardell and Subrosa, which in a lot of matches is unmatched. And realistically, if they continue to do what they're doing, I think it's going to be a very tough match.
And this is what I was sort of excited to see with TSM switching up. You have Hayes moving away from the Sage to the Brimstone. So they're playing Sageless, which isn't too surprising, really. A lot of teams wanted to potentially run without her. Even more so now with Killjoy in the game, but not available in this tournament. I did want to add, we're not going to be seeing Killjoy at all this weekend, which is kind of disappointing. I was looking forward to see the latest agent, but still a few more things to be fixed on. Speaking of which, aggressive push coming out of Bloom, who are pushing all the way to A. Look at Cutler. He has to scuttle out of there.
Well, yeah, they've gone for the force buy in this one, invested into this round, and Roka's just come up with 2 Sheriff shots to open up this round. This will be a huge round to win after what was such a dominating pistol taken. Spike will be planted by Leak. Thinking of putting the slows out to try and stop them coming in from behind, but it seems like the defense are a little bit more hesitant, maybe looking to try and group up together. They do sit around the sewers. They've also got the drone of Kaplan just being able to spot both angles, and he now sees the push, and it's a double. What? Rocker actually gets 2. I think that was for 1. You barely ever see that ever in Valorant, let alone in the second round of the tournament.
You don't really see much rain there either, so it very much was the stars aligning. That's going to make the economy of TSM a little bit awkward, but you can see Wardell's still able to buy the operator, been saving the whole time, so it's worked out quite well for him. The rest of the team, though, it's Bulldogs, Vandals, a couple of Sheriffs. It's not ideal, so they're probably going to sit rather passively. Maybe Wardell tries to play a bit more aggressively with the operator, but it seems that he's just going to sit on the top box within B and catch anybody that's decided to push out.
Cutler taking quite an aggressive stance in this round. A lot of information being gathered for the squad as middle was challenged for instead by Bloom. There is that operator, but an initial missed shot. In fact, a second to just 1 HP. It's a fast push into the site, and Wardell gone. Operator stolen. This round is already looking like it's in turmoil as they've cleaned out the B site with relative ease. While Hayes does at least get 1. The question is, Ryan, do they risk going for this or just hold on to the small amount of weaponry they have?
I think regardless, they have to save next, right? So it's kind of like go for it. You at least take that operator out of Leak's hands. They're going for an engagement, but Kaplan's going to win out. The positioning from Leak is given up, and Drone does get the wallbang headshot, so that's pretty good to make sure that the operator goes down. Now Kaplan has to play a bit more aggressively to double down on it, so this is a nice opening for TSM. There isn't much time on the clock, but at least they can do is grab that operator right by Drud's feet and get out of there before Roka does something like that.
I think Hayes has just realized that there's no time left on the clock. Molly gonna go down just to try and deny them any further press. In fact, Seth just gonna go through. He wants that operator, but he's in fact gonna go down to the spike instead. I appreciate the effort. It is gonna be a second round converted, and what was looking like a bit of a worrying start after the pistol, that's a pretty damn good comeback already for the side of Bloom.
And this is a great start for the team that came through qualifiers. You know, you see these teams line up on a team sheet and you go, All right, so TSM are going to break through, and it might not even necessarily be that true. I think Bloom has that potential, and it's easy to write them off because they're a team that you may not have heard about. You maybe heard of a couple of the players at least. Going up against TSM, who have made a lot of noise this early on. And Wardell's going to try and add to that, but Roka catches him out. So far, he's done a really good job of being able to get these and taking the operator out of the hands of TSM in an awkward spot where they can't really grab it back. That's pretty big.
I'm liking how Roka's playing as well. This is looking like an almost pug-style player, very aggressive, up in your face. It's similar to what we would see him do in like old school CS teams. And the thing is as well, like he's going to know a lot of these players very, very well on the other side. Obviously, all coming from the North American Counter-Strike scene, and he's not afraid to take these fights. Sure, it's a little bit of a lesser buy coming in this round for TSM, but I have to say his individual level is impressing me so far.
And right now, TSM aren't really sure how to deal with it. Like, Wardell's being matched when it comes to a similar playstyle, right? When you have two aggressive players run into each other and seeing Roka play like that, it's going to be tricky for TSM to just read that, right? Because this is a fresh new team. I hate to go on about it, but like there's not much footage or reel on them, right? So TSM are going into this relatively blind. They are on their favorite map, and they did look relatively comfortable in some bigger games versus Sentinels and Cloud9 on this map, as an example. Now they can buy. Now things should start to balance out a little bit more. But if Bloom can still get these first bloods and these aggro plays that TSM aren't expecting, this could be a really rough defending side for them, especially when they don't have a Sage, which I think also adds to that uncertainty.
Well, Waddell is going to pop the ultimate, give him a little bit more access close range, and also basically acts as a free weapon. Of course, if he does miss, that's where the problems can begin. Is Roka going to check the angle, though? That's the real question, because this should be an insta-kill the second he rounds it. Almost a second as well, but Seth, quick enough on the trade. Still not bad for the beginning of the round for Wardell, but I imagine he would have been hoping a little bit more.
Well, Sabroza's position had been giving up so much. Silver's putting a lot of pressure on him. Kaplan forces him to use a tiny bit of utility. Not too much that he should be worried, but it's interesting to see TSM try and play aggressively and then either get punished for it or traded at least, or forced to play back. So now they're going to be really passive. Leak being the operator player for now at least is going to be taking a relatively sweet time, but that orbital strike is going to pick up the tempo. Drones on site trying to anchor it as much as possible, but gets traded by Inksy. Now Sabroza pushed away by Leak, just left to the Brimstone now to try and fend this off, coming all the way from their spawn. Haste has it all to do.
He's got a decent amount of utility as well. He could use the stim to break the wall, but obviously that gives a lot of information over, and Roka being rezzed as well. That is the power of a Sage, turn a possible situation into one that seems more than tough, and although the first player has been spotted, chances are there's not going to be much more to be achieved here by Hayes. If he can get some damage, that would be nice, but the time ticking further and further against him, and not a whole lot of utility left to use. He's just going to have to fall back, and again, another round on the board. So even with the purchase, it hasn't gone particularly well for TSM.
Kaplan adds the cherry on the cake, gets the final frag, puts it to bed, and you would imagine that TSM's money is not going to be good enough either. Oh no, never mind, Waddell just straight up buys an operator without much time to care, but everybody else you're seeing, it's a couple of sheriffs, half armor here or there. It's not ideal, but I think TSM know that these kind of rounds they have to force to an extent. They need to get these guns away from Bloom. But I think the more that they start to spend, I saw Fish123 do this in an EU tournament like a week ago. They keep trying to force, they're never going to have enough money to have a full buy. So this is very much on thin ice if they're not careful, and might keep feeding into a bit of a problem. But yet again, Waddell with the operator might surprise Bloom, who might be expecting to go into an eco here.
I do wonder if he's almost playing this like either they come in my direction and I kill them all, or they don't and I save. I'm hoping that's the case. If he does rotate in, I feel like retaking with an operator is going to be a pretty tough task, even for someone of his caliber.
It's very all-in, though, regardless.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But they've stacked the rest of the site. It is him alone on A. B with players with a relatively quick rotating. They are challenging for this window area, but a relatively passive round in comparison to some of the others we've seen. They mainly seem to just leave Roka like hunting around for frags.
They're really taking their time. They haven't had a good read on what TSM is running with currently. And they have a few ultimates too. Hunter's Fury is going to be big. And Wardell gets that first blood. It's so important for him. He tries to get more, but the Reyna Lear is going to put a lot of pressure in. He can't do much more, but the Sheriffs are getting some work in. And now we have a nice fresh 2 versus 2.
This is possible. So Rosa as well with the quick tap. We'll leave it into a 2-on-1. And now Seth, back of the site. Still has a slight weaponry advantage, but there's plenty of guns to be found. And in fact, we are actually going to see the ultimate popped as well by Sabrosa, so he can take this fight for free, and he will close out Seth. The danger of TSM, even with those pistols, they can steal a round away.
And it was those Sheriffs that got those frags, and Matt Wardell getting the first blood. I think after he gets that, all of TSM's tension starts to just differ a little bit, starts to drop. They feel a little bit more fresh, able to get those. And they didn't even use too many ultimates. They only really used the run it back there to put a bit of pressure onto Bloom. So that is a big round for them to win. Now they have the full guns. Now they can turn this game back into their favor. But I think Bloom will still have a few aces up their sleeves. No ultimates just yet, but they do have 3 Phantoms of Vandal and an Operator ready to go. So this is probably a big round that neither of these teams really want to be losing.
Once again, we see the same aggression from Wardell. Now, the only issue here is that as soon as the Lost and Leak just jumps across and, well, sends him down, it leaves the A site completely open, but I wonder if the aggressive side are going to opt to just push right in. Sabrosa seems to make that rotation already. Has an operator of his own looking for the shots, but they're playing passive. I quite like this, not just barreling into the site. Obviously, they don't know how many members of TSM are going to be around this area, and they're starting to, in fact, rotate back around the map.
Well, Bloom have all of this space to work with. I'm just impressed that TSM didn't, all barrel to A site. They let Sabrosa go first, hold it with the Operator. And you can see the Cypher there is lurking. Seth is going to be trying to catch people out, and they are going to rotate back to A, so they're trying to double bluff as much as possible. But TSM have to cover the map. That's Haven. That's the problem. They have all of these anchor points that they need to hold. Double doors, garage, the free sites, obviously. So much work Sabrosa has to do, and League gets his second in that round. The plant is going to come in, and you wouldn't expect TSM to push through here. They do have Hunter's Fury, which could delay it. It might catch the spike as it's planted, and it does so. Kaplan goes down, but that's all that the Hunter's Fury is able to do.
Unfortunately, it's just a second too late, so it doesn't actually deny the plant, so no extra time actually bought for TSM. And getting back into this A site can be tough. They've already broken through the wall, but the smoke's up above. Leave them with such little presence, and the Cypher cages as well just deny things even further. I don't know how they're going to find a way back in. Drone still looks like he's going for it. A lineup with his shock darts, just trying to do some extra damage, but nothing being found. Definitely good to see that he can clear certain angles. Unfortunately, there's nobody from Bloom sat in that spot.
Been an exceptional start for this team. There's been a lot of love and support in Twitch chat. I had a quick peruse, and it's great to see everybody sort of shouting them out. And TSM, I think, are going to get a lot of criticism regardless of where this map goes, because in previous tournaments, in previous group stages, they play like the Harlem Globetrotters. It's just a spectacle to watch, and even some of the teams like your previously Code 7, now built by gamers, and Charlotte Phoenix, where they had a team, they really did struggle going up against TSM. But Bloom, this is a great start, being able to get almost half the rounds on the attacking side. Only need to get one more and they break even at least. TSM have just been able to get dribs and drabs when it comes to a few of these rounds. Still able to afford, still have a neural theft if they could use it on this defense, but right now, Wardell's losing these battles with Roka and Leak in some of these cases.
Well, this is definitely a change. We've seen a lot of the time Wardell left as the solo A player, but after pressure being put there regularly, and actually it's going to be Leak again through the wall! Because he was caught by the dart, but at the same time, that is an impressive shot to connect, and it seems like everything that is being tried at the moment by TSM just results in an opening pick going in the other direction. And this is the other thing about Bloom. They don't just aggress off of that. That's one of the things when you talk about a more puggy team, is they get a kill and then they charge. That's it.
Go. Yeah.
But they've been very passive, and I'm quite impressed with how they're playing so far.
And it's interesting to see TSM try and match that tempo on defense. I'll be very excited to see these teams switch at half-time because they play so similarly, but TSM look good when they play a lot more passively, but Cutler there gets traded out, but Drone is able to get two lined up nicely. Roka's going down. It's just a Cypher now left into mid. Wardell's going to clean up, and that's what you want to see more of TSM. Not just running in gun-ho into a team like Bloom that like to play that playstyle. If they play a bit more patiently and passively, they seem to win those fights more often than not.
I do wonder if that dismiss was actually a mistake from Roka, though. Like, it seemed like he was in the perfect position to trade, but dismisses away, his teammate gets killed, and then Drone has another chance to take another 1v1 duel. They're very easy to make, of course, just a click of the button, but I do wonder if he would have got that trade if he didn't dismiss away. Either way, they still have enough money to buy back up. Wardell's given up trying to boost, just gonna fly himself up there instead. Like, I don't need you. I got this myself. And they are going to push into his angle. This time it's Sub Rosa. He's somewhat left out to dry.
Oh.
But Wardell will shut down the remainder. 2 kills, Spike dropped, and unfortunately it's only the lurking Sova and Cypher on the other side. I'm going to get a bit of information. I think Wardell realizes there's not really any value in shooting the drone.
Speaking of which, why is the drone, like, upside down? It's gone wrong. The positioning of Wardell is given up.
He's a really competent flyer. That's what it is. He's got skills.
It's tricks. He's got to be part of one of those, like, sort of series teams where they're driving along. But Cutler is able to make sure that Seth goes down. Now it's just Kaplan, who did win the fight up against Wardell 30 seconds ago or so. The plant is going to come in, but there's so many people surrounding him now that he needs to get the frag. Does so want to drone, but it's pretty much completely surrounded to the point that he's not going for the plant. He's just trying to pick them up one by one.
There's a world where I saw him winning that, but the timing of that peak couldn't have been much worse. They still make things at least a little bit costly, but with FaZe now saving the operator and finances starting to dwindle a little bit for Bloom, this is an opportunity to grind things back. And of course, Haven's one of those maps where I really do feel like you can pull off a lot of rounds on the attacking side. So although this started very strong for Bloom, this definitely isn't out of the realms of TSM bringing this back quite comfortably.
Oh, not at all. Even across different maps like Split, I've seen them be 4-0 down and sort of lead going into half-time. It's a team that certainly don't buckle under the pressure. I think that's been a criticism of them recently, but I think they've just been running into really on-form Cloud9 and Sentinels, especially. Like, I think TSM still have a chance to be one of, if not the best team in NA. What else position? Yet again, give it up, and the Hunter's Fury is going to follow up to the point that he's now doing hardcore to try and avoid it, but he can't. Kaplan gets the pick, and the site is opening up.
Yeah, again, these entry frags are on point, and the Hunter's Fury used perfectly to get that opening pick. And the problem is, thus far, we haven't really seen many retakes in terms of this A-site defense. The Sky Smokes can also fall, and we also have a Brimstone ultimate of the Orbital Strike, which just makes defusing almost impossible unless they can get the kills very quickly indeed. There's a lot of information being found at least. And then Drone even going to put in a couple of others, but Roka dropping one more. Leaves things nigh on impossible, not even being able to connect on that remaining player who's currently tagged. They'll just have to fall out and hold on, although Drone still goes back in for a little bit more. Maybe a bit of miscommunication, as it seemed like FaZe has already made the decision to save the op.
I think it was an important decision to make. Rest of Bloom get out like bandits. It seems that TSM, when they're forced to play retakes, do not look comfortable. On the A side, it's been awkward for them, and every round that they've won so far, I'm pretty sure they got the frags before the defuse was even needed. Yeah, it says there, and so we now go into the penultimate round of this half. Bloom want to be able to maybe get a couple more rounds, but the economy is still decent enough for TSM to buy whatever they need coming up. They have 2 aggressive ultimates with the run it back and Bladestorm ready to go for Wardell. And that Neural Theft has been set up for quite some time for Cutler. It's been difficult to use it, find those right opportunities. Especially with Bloom barreling in like they have been.
That's what I like to see, though. An aggressive Sub-Rosa, but he's shut down within the first few seconds. The operator on the other side not going to allow for any mischief, and actually, Drone gives away quite a bit of information about an aggressive spot. That shot, did that hit? I think the second one may have done as well. That's a couple of low players. Look, both the Phoenix and the Sova hit through the wall. That's gross, but luckily Phoenix can obviously heal himself up. That is the advantage of the Blaze, and of course the Hot Hands, which it might be one of my favorite ability names. I don't know if you have any yourself, Ryan, but I do like the sound of some Hot Hands.
I do like Cyber Cage. I don't know why. I think it's just a cool ability too. But Hazed with his Molotov, no exciting name there. He still has it available with his Sky Smokes 2 and his Stim Pack. All in the nice ability names, but he could get those headshots there a lot cooler and nicer to listen to. Able to even get the wall bang onto Leak. He's stringing together a few more kills and he's lining him up. Can only do so much. He gets his fourth. He's just mowing through them. How is he allowed to do this?
I'm almost glad that you took that one, because I was kind of sat there going, well, Hayes is in a bit of an audacious position. Just sat out in the open, just chilling, doesn't have a chance. Like, there was no retreat there. I think that's the best way to put it. There is no way that Hayes can escape unless he kills everyone, which he did. And then that actually takes him from the bottom of the board to right within the middle. That was an impressive round from Hayes, and I think something that they desperately needed to give them a bit of a cleaner showing, get them up to 5 on the board as well, and maybe slow down what was a very dominant half from the side of Blue.
Bloom just weren't expecting it or able to deal with it. By all accounts, Hayes should not have got away with that. But he did. That's the kind of TSM effect, but we could go into halftime even, or Bloom can take a surprising lead at least. Izzo will come back into it, but they are struggling against this team, and Inksky gets Cutler. The Optus strikes a good one, and they're trying to clear up the site as much as possible. So Broza goes down 2, another plant coming in, and TSM have struggled here, so it'll be interesting to see how they do now.
Oh, this is bold from Wardell, but it's also what we love to see. A quick double entry, but unfortunately, it is not quite enough, and it will be a lead kept in the end.
Triple K with Kaplan right there at the end. We're looking at Wardell dashing around. And the sort of kills and frags at halftime are pretty interesting as it goes. It's still bizarre for me to see Drone not playing the Phoenix in this lineup, especially when Sabrosa's picking it up too, but this is kind of what I've wanted to see out of TSM. It's very similar to Fish 1-2-3 in Europe, where they were the best team during the closed beta period. They look the best team by a long shot. Then they start to lose, and then people start to doubt them, and they don't look like the best team in their region anymore. So they have to go back to the drawing board a little bit, change things up, and mostly it's been down to their compositions and how they're playing it. I'd say that whilst TSM are losing in this half, it's looked decent from them. I still think it's a long way to go to work out the comps in the way that they want to play necessarily. But I don't think they should be struggling this much on their best map against a fresh new team like Bloom, personally. But there's still another half to go.
Yeah, now they get onto the offense, which I think personally is where I find this team most terrifying. So Broza looking for those entry kills. Has managed to gain quite a lot of ground in towards the sewers. There's already been a very big rotation out from the side of Bloom, and in fact, it's just going to be played upon by TSM. They're going to double back in towards the window, look to try and challenge to B, but by the time they do this, the defense has already moved back.
Playing as aggressively on defense as they did on attack. I say that like it's obvious, but you look at TSM's defense, and they were very much in the face of Bloom in a lot of cases, so interested to see how they play. The Anchored Cypher's kit is on A, as well as the Sova. So Kaplan's getting a lot of intel, but he's put under a lot of pressure. That Ricobot's going to give him up. So Subros is able to get first blood. Sight is pretty much in control. Let's see how Bloom do on these retakes. TSM did struggle a little bit, most especially on this site. So let's see how this team does here.
Yeah, the A site looks bleak for retakes from what we've seen so far today. Here. Especially with a man disadvantage. I'm not really sure how they're going to get back in. Of course, they do have potential Lears available, but in fact, it looks like they're just going to try and dry peek this one out, and facing off somehow they've won the majority of the duels. It's back into a 2 versus 2. Still, though, the HP advantage is large for TSM, so they take an all-important pistol, but it is worth remembering they won the first one as well.
Yes. And then Bloom came in pretty much out of nowhere with a false buy and really screwed up the economy for TSM for the first 5 rounds or so. It certainly wasn't as good as they were hoping. I really like the placement of that spike, by the way. It was a nice little crossfire that TSM could set up so they could move all the way back to A-Long or even sewers and still have a keen eye on the defuse as it came in. So Bloom caught out there by the positioning of the spike being planted. And TSM showed some bright moments. They just need to do a lot more, and I think Bloom, like I mentioned before, have some aces up their sleeves. Roka started off very brightly. I don't know if it'll be the same on defense, though. It's a Reyna. You have to be aggressive. You need to sort of string those kills together. And that's very difficult if you have to sit passively like he's doing now.
I have to say, like, seeing Sub Rosa now making what seems like a more permanent switch to Phoenix makes me very excited. Like, we don't really see much Phoenix in EU in general, but the fact that he's such a sort of aggressive entry fragger as well, now even has the abilities to set himself up. Seems like Hayes is selling a bit of a fake on the other side of the map. The only thing that worries me is he is one of the players with a Bulldog. So he's almost just handed a free rifle. Now, of course, it may not matter because the A site is now completely open. The rest of his team just have to try and hold on. But you see a lot of teams at the moment only investing into pistols. So the fact that their best weapon went in on the fake is a pretty big risk.
And you just get shotted. Like, this is stuff that shouldn't really be happening at all. Bloom have been able to punish, but then again, they're in a 4 versus 2. They lost a big gun, but Subrazer's still able to string a kill in. Wardell's able to get free, so it was dicey for sure for TSM. That first shorty kill could have been a bit of a problem for them, but they're going to be okay. The score's now tied up, and it's going to be a bye on either side now. And I'm still curious to see, like, we haven't seen an awful lot of Bloom. We saw them in the qualifiers. They played the Valorant Academy tournament like a week ago too, where they finished like 5th to 8th, so they haven't got a lot of wins and a lot of like tournament gold medals under their belt. They've got none. But you can start to see, even from this game, even if Bloom go on to lose it, there's very much a lot of promise in this roster.
Oh, okay! We're seeing a few doubles today, at least. Leak just fires a shot of the operator through the smoke, and, wow, he gets the man advantage, which was initially lost. Seems like the defense is almost more than happy to play retake at this point. You can see the operator just watching the cross onto C if they do try and get back into the site, and the drone prepared for Kaplan as well if he does want to go on a little bit of a information-seeking mission, but he's not really going to find anything unless he gets the timing perfect on this cross, which he is. That is lucky as hell, because if that's even a second or two later, he knows nothing.
Yeah, he spots a rotation, so he's moved over to B to augment that, because that could be really difficult to hold off a retake. That recon bolt might not be able to pulse out some intel, but it does give the information that they're there because they did shoot it. They have a resurrect Bloom, but look at where Roka died. There's no way in hell that Sage is going to be able to get that res in. Malik is going to take another little peek. Try and catch out people. Runs into the run it back, so even if they get the frag, it's not going to add up for much. So they're backing off, making sure they don't die. And now even the Bladestorm be dedicated. TSM going all in.
I like the utilization of that cam, though. It almost distracted the operator, and now Wardell has been able to find a kill elsewhere. There's a lot invested into this round. As you said, the run it back already utilized basically just to get them presence. Now the res comes through. Both teams basically going all in to try and take this round home. And actually, Wardell's going to get caught by Seth, slightly peeking out into the angle. It's now left to just 2 players, but the wraparound actually coming in from Subrosa could be everything. Cutler just needs to buy for time, and that's exactly what he does. Now it's split between the players. It's Leak into the 1 versus 1, and he's got to try and start that defusal, start getting that time ticking. In fact, he's just holding it all the way through. Subrosa already tickle peeks. He doesn't realize he's just stuck the bomb, and I don't know how Leak has managed to get away with that, but he'll take the victory for his side.
He saw it as well, like, the pros don't fake, and Link did that. Yet again, it seems to sort of bite TSM in the backside. It's just those kind of plays that catches him out now and again, and that was an expensive round for them to lose when it comes to ult economy. They played that super well, even when they had 2 people die with the collateral shot from Leak very early on in the round. They did well to get onto the site, they expended big ultimates in order to get there. They just weren't expecting Leak to hold on to the defuse there. Balls of steel that he had right then, and it paid off for his lineup. 8-7 is the score.
Would you have let go, Ryan? Would you have let go?
I'd be crying in a corner if I was playing against these guys, to be fair. And Cutler did a really good job holding off, like, on C-Long. Like, I was really impressed with how he held that. There is going to be a bit of a pause, so we could just really take a moment to think about what Leak just did. And it was something else, and this is what you need to beat TSM. I don't think TSM have fallen off a lot. I just think a lot of teams have been on a hot streak, and it's been difficult for them to keep up in some cases.
But I think the other thing as well is when you're at the top, everybody watches you. So, like, sure, they within this tournament and the previous one, I believe, like we saw them play the 30 Bomb Summer Cup, where they also had similar comps, like the switches between them have already been made. But at the same time, teams are always going to be keeping an eye on TSM because they were the best for so long in the span of Valorant. So people are going to be ready to play them. And the other thing as well is it seemed like Bloom has come into this game with no fear. And I think that's a pretty tough thing to do when you play against a like Juggernaut team, a team that's been battering everyone, is to come in and basically go, okay, we're not afraid to do anything versus you. We'll stick a defuse even if you like fake peek us. We'll go for these individual jewels. Like, even just talk about what Roka did at the beginning of that round. He just pushed all the way down C and just went, yeah, if there's someone here, I'll just take the fights. And I don't think there's too many teams in North America who would show almost that level of disrespect to TSM, just going, I'm going to fight you every round. And he's doing it again.
It reminds me of Prodigy in the Vitality tournament, though. When you have these kind of like new teams that really like it, I think Bloom are sort of expected to not go too far in this tournament, honestly, but they could go in kind of like with no fear, no pressure on their shoulders to do crazy well. Just go in, have a good time, show the world what they got. And like I said, even if this is a 2-0, for TSM, I think Bloom have done enough to impress me personally, even just on Hayden. This is meant to be TSM's best map, and it's really this close between a fresh-faced team like this. It's crazy.
Here we go once again. The take comes in towards this A site. Of course, both teams taking a bit of a battering to their economy in the last round, but it seems to be working well in this one. In fact, I think that's the main vulnerability I've seen from both teams so far, and it begins with the first letter of the alphabet. It's A. Things are going very badly for either side, even just with defending this. Like, we saw TSM just try and put the raid boss that is Wardell to just hold it on his own. Even that didn't work. And I don't see a way for the defense to get back into this one. And unfortunately, that means that their money is going to be hurting. So they don't really have a choice. They've got to just fall back and save.
There's been some electric moments for certainly Leek and Kaplan. Roka especially. Roka's been not as electric recently. Started off this game super bright, but other than a couple of kills here or there, hasn't really opened up the game too much, at least from what we've seen. We certainly know that he has the capability, though. Even just seeing the first 3 rounds, it's like, all right, yeah, definitely worth watching this player, I think. But TSM are able to bring the score up, and even if you just look at the round history, how much they've been trading side to side, the little lead that was built right at the beginning, 4-1 for Bloom, now 8-all. Money is not good for the defending side of Bloom. And the only ultimate they have is Reyna's, which you often probably need a good gun to have a hold on to make something happen with Empress. And unfortunately, that's not what they have available to them.
And they're going to go for this A take. It is worth mentioning as well that the team that we saw Bloom face off against in the qualifier, Lemonade Stand, have been absolutely battered in the first map of their series. So it's good to see that one of the qualifier teams is doing quite well. That was a 13-3 in favor of Sentinels. This round, at least, is, of course, more of an eco. So you may wonder why I'm just waffling over it, giving you a little bit of an update. It's because this is one where you can't really expect much at all from Bloom, and hopefully we're going to see a slightly better investment. Other updates, an 8-7 in favor of the Cloud9 at the moment. And 11-1 Envy facing off against Complexity. Now, those are two teams where I feel like it should be a little bit closer, Ryan.
Complexity, Renegades, built by gamers, I think they were all picked up within the space of 3 days from each other. And I like the Code 7 guys that became built by gamers. I don't really rate Complexity and Renegades all that much. You're right, they should be doing a little bit better. I'd say that they could easily be top 10 teams, but they're very much fringe. Roka's doing a similar play, gets caught out yet again. Luckily, Leek has to bail him out with the trade. And the Optical Strike's going to try and catch out even more. So this is going to be explosive from TSM trying to push onto the site, but that slow orb is going to slow them right down.
Put down.
That's such good timing from Cutler, though. He's found a pick elsewhere, and this leaves Kaplan in a fair bit of trouble. Another ultimate being expended, and Seth has actually found a flank, and finally, we are going to see the Cypher ultimate popped. giving that information over to the other side. He's going to try and wrap back around. Now, this is looking like a hunt for the trade. The timing not going to work out.
Way.
Seth's come up with 3. A huge round from him. Wardell now has to try and finish this, and he's only got 10 HP. He's got 3 players to find, and they've even put down an extra tripwire just to make sure he can't trade that frag. He's going to go just towards that A site. I believe he's about to bump into another one, so the second he gets in this direction, maybe even more information available.
He has to pull something out the bag. We know he can. You don't need me to tell you how good Wardell can be in some of these plays, but this is still a big ask. Surrounded pretty much on all sides. Has all of his utility, but only 10 health. Let's see what he can do. I just want to watch this play out personally. Nice little jiggle peek to try and catch him out, and gives away his positioning by firing, but doesn't catch the rotation to the other side, but is still able to get there. He's going to dash out, pick up Phantom, but it only required 1 hit from Inksky. It's a nice breakthrough, but really not enough help to keep him up against a 1 versus 3. Scores yet again tied.
Yeah, I'd like that from Kaplan. He wasted quite a bit of their time just by sort of going for a little bit of a dance while he's being fought with from Wardell. I think everybody as well as us knows how much of a threat he can be, so you're not going to take that lightly, no matter to how much damage you may or may not have done.
Especially an operator like that as well. You just need to respect that and respect it in the hands of a really good Jet player. That kind of combination is deadly, and Wardell's, patented it. I think, he's become the architect of that kind of play style. And I think a lot of teams overall have been able to read it a little bit more. Like, Wardell, even without an operator, even off Jet, still looks good, but he doesn't look godly good, like we sort of expect. So, it's something that TSM need to be aware of, and something that they've obviously probably been practicing. I think Wardell's been playing a little bit more Sova recently, but with the way that the roster's changed up what agents they're playing, we could see a lot of surprises, even with Killjoy. Who knows what the roster's going to look like if they try and use her a bit more in the future.
I have the spike.
Well, I suppose the name Drone is a little bit more fitting to play a Sova in this scenario, as he does gain a bit of extra information. I wonder if that ever played on his mind. Maybe that's why he didn't want to play Sova initially. It's like, but he has a drone. I don't want to be drone with a drone. I don't want that to be my thing. But
it's like an edgy name Omen player.
Yeah. They've got an A stack in this round. It's something that they've had some struggles with, as said, both teams have. But there are now 4 players on one side of the map. Is this all just because of Hayes selling a fake? And while the push comes in, Leak is still going to find the opener. But I feel like at the moment, Bloom just feel a lot more confident retaking C. So they've almost just given it up and just allowed Leak to almost play that one frag, get us an advantage, and we'll try and retake.
They have the Resurrect, they have the Empress, they have ultimates that could just rush onto a site if they time things properly. The Silver's still alive, the Cypher's still alive, there's a lot of intel that they can grab. Wardell, it's a nutty shot on the Leak. I really like that little flick. He's trying to get more, but wasn't expecting maybe the Brimstone to come through the smoke, but it doesn't matter. Drone's able to get a couple, gets his third. Now it's just going to be the Cypher, it's just going to be Seth. Looking awkward, but that's because he is in a 1 versus 3. The spike has been planted not too long to go before it deploys. He's just going to back out. You would expect Bloom were able to sort of come in for the retake, but just couldn't deal with TSM.
Yeah, I like the idea. I think especially, as said, with the vulnerabilities that have been shown on A, the problem is they were so reliant on getting the kills back onto that C site, and, well, luckily for TSM, Drone decided this was the round he was going to slam everyone into the ground, which... Hey, if more of that comes up for TSM, we're going to be singing their praises once again. They are back into the lead, which, well, as I said, it's what we've come to expect, but this is maybe not the manner that we expected it to come in, with Bloom definitely still putting up a fight. The problem now, though, is once again the economy starts to take its toll. You've got at least a little bit invested into this round with the save rifle from the last, but other than that, it's just going to be the pistols. But again, they've gone for the same stack, some decent positioning, and Sub Rosa missing his initial shots, but luckily he's got some support, and, well, even has his run it back to make sure he can clear out the majority of the site. He may get caught, though, and in fact, it's Drone instead, and they know where he's going to run back to. They're waiting on his body. It's going to be Sub Rosa going down. This pistol round might be something after all.
Oh, Seth does get taken out, though. So 2 versus 3. This is a whole ring around the rosy, and Kaplan's doing just that. Can't necessarily get the kill in with the classic, and has to go up against Wardell, who's right in his face. Cutler goes down at the same time. Yet again, Wardell up for a clutch. It's a 1v2 this time, and he has a little bit more health than last time, but still not an awful lot. Gonna peek this slowly. There's a nice little off angle around it. Malera's going to give away to both of them are here. The spike is in an awkward spot that he needs to try and grab, so this is a bit of an awkward engagement for him to take. He's got to do something.
Smokes actually just act as a distraction, trying to bait them in to the peaks. The shots!
Oh, he hopped
up.
up.
He takes the bait, and the timing, as you sort of mentioned, couldn't really be worse. That is a big, big round for Bloom. As I said, it was one Phantom. The rest was pistols, and I think everything just came down to timing there, with the pushes coming up through long. I don't think they expected a double push going into sewers, and then a double push going into A-long as well. It's a little bit mental, but I appreciate it. And then just the timing to almost just go, oh, hey, Subrosa, we know where you're coming back to. Nothing he can do.
It's just, I love it so much. Wardell's going to be, you know, probably said some obscurities about his timing, hopping up onto the high ground just as Roka peaks, meaning that his shot wasn't going to be accurate anyway. Catches him completely out, scores 10-all, and it's a very close one. Speaking of which, in Group B, 10-8 to Cloud9 versus Renegade. So I take back what I said about Renegade. So they're running Cloud9 pretty close on their first map. Granted, all of these games are best of 3, so there is still a chance for a reverse sweep to come in, or just a very quick change of pace. But currently, both games in Group B are looking dead close, which I guess a lot of people weren't really expecting Bloom and Renegades to be putting up this much of a fight.
Is there a world where we have a TSM Cloud9 elimination match?
Can you imagine?
I think that's many people's nightmares. I think that the guys at FaZe would be like, no, we can't let that happen. that would be hugely damaging, but
I wonder how many kick Ws would be spammed in chat. I do wonder how many kick Ws
I feel like
would be
plenty are going to be spammed
happened.
now.
Yeah. Can you just imagine? Close your eyes and imagine.
I'm not going to close my eyes just yet. The push is about to begin. In fact, there's a second molly. Too much fire. And Subrosa's going to cook. Drone.
Captain killed.
I have to wait in the corner. In fact, it's Kaplan to actually take down Hazed, and he's trying to pick off another. Back into a 3v3, and in fact, the spike's going to be denied. There's only 10 seconds. The attackers have to go, and they have to go now if they're going to have any chance. And in fact, there doesn't even need to be a rotation. This round is done. It's Bloom to take themselves the lead, and well, I thought we were going to have a chill, casual first map of the day. In fact, it could be maybe one of the biggest upsets we've seen.
And I mean, Wardell's still having a great game. It almost reminds me of Tens on Cloud9, where they can have Tens getting a 30 bomb and still losing some games. I don't inherently think there's anybody on TSM that's really, you know, pulling them down. I think it's just difficult for Bloom, difficult for TSM, sorry, to deal with the pace of Bloom. And to be fair, Wardell has been able to get a lot of frags, but they're always like in a 1 versus X. He's always forced to clutch, which I imagine is really exhausting for him, right? Constantly being put into these situations where he has to do something ridiculous. It's just something that TSM have been struggling with throughout the whole game, and it's not a great start to this FaZe Clan tournament, but they just need to pick up a few more rounds on the bounce, and they can put Haven behind them, which, like I keep mentioning, is meant to be their best map.
I think it's worth mentioning more than once, because, yeah, this is, if any, the map that we would expect them to dominate on. It's also worth mentioning that this isn't their choice within the series, but I think they would have done if they were given the first choice of map. This is the choice of Bloom. So they went into this feeling confident, and I'll be honest, I can see why. They are looking very impressive indeed. I do like that they've slightly switched up Roka's positioning. He was being very aggressive on towards the C site. Well, that's in fact where TSM are going to be going right now, and it's falling back into that same sort of retake. Now, retaking has not been the strong suit for either of these teams. There's been a lot of good holds in these after-plant positions, and I do wonder if we're about to witness another one, because there's not many rounds where you see a 5-on-5 retake, I'll be honest.
And the ultimates that both teams have available, there's not many, but the pivotal. Neural Theft on this defense for the retake is going to be insane if they can get fresh cops to use it on. find out exactly where these players on TSM are holding from. But the Hunter's Fury is going to be used to sort of, buy a bit of time. But Seth goes down. That ultimate's not going to be able to be used. So Broza getting a second, and it's still a bit of a crossfire on this site. The Hunter's Fury is going to be pulled out.
So just deny them any presence on, and while Cutler's flank from behind did enough, this is obviously out of the realms of possibility now with the time ticking. And Mordell is going to put them down again at a change of pace. And I think those are the rounds that have been way more successful for TSM. And this time again, they basically gamble into the C site, which is one that we've seen Bloom now play multiple times as a retake setup. This time, though, they didn't have Leak there. And I think that's the one change that I wasn't really a fan on, is that he was so successful with the amount of openers he was able to get on the C site. And this time, Kaplan was there instead.
I'm really surprised how close this map has been. You look at the scoreboard, you see just how much they've been trading as well. It's not like Bloom have been winning 3 rounds in a row, and TSM have been winning 3 rounds in a row. It's just one after the other. Drone gets a nice dink onto Kaplan. And this is opened up nicely for TSM to pick up the 2nd round in a row. First time that we've seen that in quite some time. We'll put them on the match point. There's no Resurrect available, but Roka won't even need it. He's just catching people out and has control of the spike.
I know exactly.
I call that a desk puncher. That's going to be so irritating. And well, Cutler's going to get caught as well. Roka's getting away with further murder. Well, he may even hear the footsteps. I think Sabrosa has slowed himself just in time to make that wraparound work. This duel from Seth is everything, but he's got to be careful. He may not realize there's already a man in mid, but it doesn't matter. Seth hits the shots again. Sabrosa can't do anything. Well, Hazed is at least going to be able to clear out the window, but there's so much more to do. And Roka, he wants to make his 3rd peak of the round out of these double doors. So it's unbelievable how much he's been able to get away with. 35 seconds. There's still time to play with at least, but I don't know how he gets a duel without somebody coming in for the trade. This might be it, and kind of half checks the angle. Well, there's Roka straight back in from the garage. And it's all too easy, and this man comes back exactly when they needed him, and that was something you mentioned. Very quick early start, bit of a slowdown. Seems like he's come back with a vengeance.
And when they needed him to as well, like TSM starting with a nice little double kill at the beginning of the round. From there, really, Bloom, you wouldn't expect Bloom to be able to take that. Seth just comes in pure lurk mode with Roka, and yet these are rounds that TSM just should not be losing. Like, I don't really mind it too much if they end up winning Haven, even if it's a close game. It doesn't matter how they win it, so long as they win these games that they need to. But by all accounts, these are rounds that they should not be losing. They're really struggling to deal with the tempo. The Bloom are honestly setting. Like, this was their map pick. They went really in the faces of TSM when it came to the map choice, as well as the way that they're playing this. And it's really surprising to see TSM not really have a hold on it. They can't adapt at all, which is super surprising.
Seth about to come under pressure once again. The A site in the early rounds was something that they didn't really defend too well. The angle not checked by Sabrosa though, and that's all too easy for Seth. Walks around the corner, and this is looking like, dare I say it, a map going to Bloom. This is a 2 versus 5 to keep them in the map. Take us to overtime. I didn't even expect I'd be saying the word overtime today, because most of these matches look like there's a clear favorite, and while the clear favorite today was meant to be TSM, Hayes pushing his way through the Molotov. It's done, Ryan, isn't it? It's done out here.
Not over till the fat lady sings. With the fat lady, cute fat boys playing another game. Yeah, fat cute boys playing another game. We're sticking with his best of 3, regardless of how it goes, because this has been crazy. Seth gets the 4th kill. Insane game. TSM